Nobody expected Sarah Vex to survive her first week in the Crimson Halls. The training facility was built into the side of an active volcano on Drama Prime, a planet so hostile that even the rocks tried to kill you. Steam vents could cook you alive. Lava flows shifted without warning, and the gravity was 3 times what Earth considered normal. Sarah dragged herself across the obsidian training floor, every muscle screaming in protest. Her lungs burned, her vision blurred. Blood dripped from a cut above her eye, mixing with sweat and volcanic ash. "Get up, human!" A voice growled from above. Sarah looked up at Commander Thorax, a Dracnian warlord whose reputation made grown warriors weep. He stood 12 feet tall, his scaled body covered in battle scars that told stories of 1,000 victories. His yellow eyes held no sympathy, no mercy, nothing but cold evaluation. I said, "Get up." Sarah's arms trembled as she pushed against the ground. Her body refused to cooperate. She'd been training for 16 hours straight, without food or water. Every bone felt like it might snap. "I can't," she gasped. Thorax's tail swept across the floor, slamming into her ribs and sending her rolling across the obsidian. Pain exploded through her chest. She coughed, tasting blood. "Wrong answer," Thorax said calmly. "In battle, the enemy doesn't care if you're tired. They don't care if you're hurt. They only care about killing you. Now get up, or I'll make you wish you died with the rest of your colony." Something ignited inside Sarah's chest. Not determination, not courage. Pure, burning rage. Her colony, her family, her friends. All were dead because the Vault Hex Syndicate wanted the mining rights to their asteroid. They'd sent warships to a peaceful settlement and turned it into a graveyard. Sarah had been off-planet, studying engineering at a nearby station, when she got the news. She'd spent 3 months searching for anyone, who could teach her how to fight back. Every military academy rejected her. Too small, too weak, too human. Then she heard rumors about Commander Thorax, the exiled Dracnian warlord who trained anyone willing to pay his price and survive his methods. His price was simple: 7 years of service after training. No questions asked. No refusal allowed. Sarah had agreed without hesitation. Now, lying on the burning floor with broken ribs and shattered pride, she understood why everyone said Thorax's training was a death sentence. But she also understood something else. Dying here meant the Vault Hex Syndicate won. It meant her family's deaths meant nothing. It meant she was just another victim who gave up. Sarah planted her hands on the obsidian and pushed. Her arms shook violently. Her ribs ground together, sending fresh waves of agony through her body. But inch by inch, she rose to her knees, then to her feet. She swayed, barely conscious, but she was standing. Thorax's eyes narrowed. Again, the training continued. 6 months later, Sarah stood in the same spot where she'd nearly died. But now, she moved like water flowing around stone. Thorax threw everything at her during combat drills, and she adapted, countered, and survived. Better, Thorax admitted one evening as Sarah finished a particularly brutal session. "You're not completely useless anymore." Coming from him, that was practically a love letter. Sarah grabbed a water container and drank deeply. Her body had transformed over the months. She'd gained 20 pounds of muscle. Her reflexes had sharpened to the point where she could snatch insects out of the air. The crushing gravity that once nearly killed her now felt normal. "Why did you really take me on?" Sarah asked. "You could train warriors from a dozen species stronger than humans. Why waste time on me?" Thorax's tail swished, a sign he was considering his words carefully. "Because strength isn't about muscle mass or natural advantages. It's about what you do when you should be dead but refuse to quit. That first day, you should have stayed down. Any sane creature would have. But you got up." He turned his massive head to look at her directly. "That's when I knew you might actually survive." "Might?" Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Don't get cocky, human. You've learned the basics. Now comes the hard part." Sarah laughed, wincing as her still-healing ribs protested. "The hard part? What exactly have we been doing for 6 months?" "Physical conditioning," Thorax said. "Building your body into something that won't break the first time you face real combat. Now we work on your mind. Strategy, tactics, psychology, the weapons that win wars. Over the next year, Sarah learned that Thorax wasn't just a warrior. He was a genius of warfare. He taught her how to read opponents, how to exploit weaknesses, how to turn disadvantages into advantages. He showed her the difference between fighting and winning. Most fighters focus on what they can do. Thorax explained during one lesson. They train their favorite techniques and ignore everything else. That makes them predictable. Predictable means dead. He pulled up holographic displays showing famous battles throughout galactic history. Watch this. The Battle of Koroth 7. The defending fleet had superior numbers and firepower. They should have won easily. Instead, the attacking force studied their commander's previous engagements and predicted exactly how he positioned his ships. They exploited that predictability and destroyed the entire fleet in 40 minutes. Sarah studied the battle playback, absorbing every detail, so never developed patterns. Wrong, Thorax said. Everyone has patterns. The trick is knowing your patterns and using them as weapons. Make your enemy think they figured you out, then break the pattern at the critical moment. Their confidence becomes their weakness. The lessons continued, each one building on the last. Sarah learned small unit tactics, fleet coordination, guerrilla warfare, siege breaking, and psychological operations. She learned how to command, how to inspire, how to terrify. But most importantly, she learned patience. Revenge is a dish best served cold, Thorax told her during one evening session. They sat on the edge of a lava flow, watching the molten rock bubble and surge below. You want to charge straight at the Vault Hex Syndicate and make them pay for what they did. That's understandable. It's also suicide. Sarah's jaw clenched. So I'm supposed to just wait? No, you're supposed to prepare. The Syndicate is powerful because it's established. They have resources, connections, and legitimate business fronts. You can't just attack them head-on. You need to understand their operations, identify their vulnerabilities, then strike where they're weakest. He looked at her with those calculating yellow eyes. And you need allies. No matter how skilled you become, one person can't topple an empire. You need others who share your cause. Where do I find people willing to fight the Syndicate? Sarah asked. They control half the shipping lanes in this sector. Anyone who opposes them ends up dead or disappeared. Thorax's mouth split in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of serrated teeth. That's where your final lesson comes in. You're going to learn how to build an army from nothing. 2 years into her training, Thorax sent Sarah on her first real mission. Not a simulation, not a drill, real combat with real consequences. There's a Syndicate outpost on Helix Station, Thorax explained, showing her surveillance data. It's a small operation. 20 guards, maybe 30. They're running a protection racket on the station's merchants. Your job is to shut it down. Sarah studied the layout. Helix Station was a trading hub built into a hollowed-out asteroid. Narrow corridors. Limited sight lines. Lots of civilians could become collateral damage. Rules of engagement? She asked. Don't start a war you can't finish. Don't harm innocents. Beyond that, use your judgment. Sarah spent 3 days planning. She watched the guard rotations, identified the leaders, and mapped escape routes. Then she struck. The Syndicate guards were used to intimidating unarmed merchants. They weren't prepared for someone who'd trained under Commander Thorax for 2 years. Sarah moved through their outposts like a ghost, neutralizing sentries before they could raise alarms. When she finally confronted their leader, a brutish Krell named Voss, he tried to bribe her. Whatever they're paying you, we'll triple it, Voss said, his 4 arms spread in a gesture of negotiation. Sarah punched him in the throat, collapsing his primary air passage. As he gasped for breath, she leaned close. This isn't about money. This is about sending a message. The Syndicate doesn't own everything. And the people you've been terrorizing now have someone willing to fight back. She left Voss alive but humiliated, tied up in the station's central plaza with all his guards similarly displayed. She also left a calling card with a simple message written in the universal trade language. The Syndicate's protection ends today. Leave Helix Station, or next time there won't be survivors. Signed, the Volcanic Ghost. The name was born from necessity, a way to build a reputation without revealing identity. But it spread faster than Sarah expected. Within weeks, other syndicate operations started reporting similar attacks. Someone was systematically dismantling their minor outposts, always leaving survivors to spread the tale of the mysterious warrior who struck from nowhere. Sarah didn't do this alone. Following Thorax's advice, she'd begun recruiting. Her first ally was a former syndicate pilot named Jace who'd been forced to fly missions against his will. After Sarah freed him from a labor camp, he swore loyalty to her cause. Next came Rena, a demolitions expert whose sister had been killed in a syndicate mining accident that was later covered up. Rena brought both expertise and a burning desire for justice. Then there was Kel, a hacker who could slice through security systems like they were made of paper. The syndicate had destroyed his business when he refused to give them access to his client data. He'd been living in hiding until Sarah found him. One by one, Sarah built her team. Each member had skills. Each had reasons to hate the syndicate, and each had been waiting for someone to give them hope that fighting back was possible. "You're doing well," Thorax told her during one of their increasingly rare check-ins. Sarah had been operating independently for months now, only returning to Drama Prime for advanced training and strategic planning. "The syndicate has noticed you. They've put a bounty on the volcanic ghost's head." Sarah smiled grimly. "How much?" 50,000 credits. "That's insulting. I've cost them millions and lost revenue." Thorax's laugh rumbled like an avalanche. "Give them time. The price will go up, but so will the danger. Right now you're an annoyance. Keep hitting them, and you'll become a genuine threat. That's when they'll send serious hunters after you." "Let them come," Sarah said. "I'm ready." "No," Thorax corrected. "You're prepared. There's a difference. Ready implies confidence, which leads to mistakes. Prepared means you've accounted for possibilities and remain flexible. Never confuse the two." The wisdom in his words proved accurate sooner than Sarah expected. 3 weeks later, her team hit a syndicate weapons depot on the moon of Tarsus IV. The intelligence said it would be lightly guarded, an easy target. The intelligence was wrong. Sarah and her team walked into an ambush. Syndicate soldiers poured from hidden positions, cutting off escape routes. Someone had leaked their plans. Someone had betrayed them. "Fall back," Sarah shouted, laying down covering fire as her team scrambled for the exits. Plasma bolts scorched the air. Explosions rocked the depot. Everything devolved into chaos. Jace took a shot to the shoulder. Rena's leg was grazed by shrapnel. Kel barely dodged a grenade that would have vaporized him. They fought their way to their ship through sheer desperation, leaving 2 team members behind. Sarah watched helplessly as the syndicate soldiers dragged them away, alive but captured. The escape felt less like a victory and more like a crushing defeat. Back at their hidden base, an abandoned mining facility on the edge of civilized space, Sarah's team licked their wounds and tried to process what had happened. "Someone sold us out," Rena said, checking her bandaged leg. "The syndicate knew exactly where we'd be and when. Question is, who?" Jace grimaced as medical nanites worked on his shoulder. "We kept that operation tight. Only the 5 of us knew the full plan." Everyone looked at each other with suspicion. Sarah felt the team fracturing in real time, trust evaporating like water on Drama Prime's volcanic surface. "Stop," she said firmly. "We don't turn on each other. That's exactly what the syndicate wants. Divide and conquer." "Then how did they know?" Kel demanded. Sarah thought back to her training with Thorax, his lessons on information warfare and operational security. She replayed every step of their planning, looking for the weakness. Then it hit her. "The intel source," Sarah said slowly. "We got that information from a merchant on Helix Station. Someone who claimed to hate the syndicate." "You think he was a plant?" Rena asked. "I think the syndicate learned we were building a network and started feeding us poisoned information. They wanted to draw us into a kill box." Sarah slammed her fist on the table. "And I walked us right into it because I was so focused on hitting them that I forgot to verify our sources properly." The admission of failure tasted bitter, but Thorax had taught her that owning mistakes was the first step to learning from them. "So what do we do now?" Jace asked. 2 of our people are captured. The Syndicate knows we're more than just random attacks. They'll be hunting us seriously now. Sarah stood, her mind racing through possibilities. This was the moment Thorax had warned her about, the moment when the game became real and the stakes turned lethal. "We adapt," she said. "The Syndicate thinks they've won by capturing our people and exposing our network, but they've also shown us their tactics. Now we know they're actively trying to infiltrate and mislead us. We use that against them." "How?" Kel looked skeptical. Sarah smiled, and there was nothing warm in it. "We feed them false information right back. We make them think they're still ahead of us while we hunt down their real operations, and we're going to rescue our people in the process." "That's ambitious," Rena said. "That's necessary," Sarah corrected. "We leave no one behind. That's the promise. That's what separates us from the Syndicate. They see people as disposable assets. We see them as family." Over the next month, Sarah's team executed the most complex operation they'd ever attempted. They fed false intel through compromised channels, making the Syndicate think they were planning attacks on unimportant targets. Meanwhile, Sarah used every contact and favor she had to locate where their captured teammates were being held. The trail led to a Syndicate black site on Korvac Station, a heavily fortified facility designed to be impregnable. "This is insane," Jay said when Sarah revealed the plan. "That station has military-grade defenses. We're talking shield generators, automated turrets, and a garrison of professional soldiers. It's not like the small outposts we've been hitting." "I know," Sarah said calmly. "That's why we're not going to attack it. Then how do we get our people out?" Sarah's smile turned predatory. "We're going to make the Syndicate give them to us." The operation required precision, timing, and nerves of steel. Sarah spent weeks setting the pieces in motion, calling in every favor, making deals with contacts she cultivated throughout her campaign against the Syndicate. The plan was beautifully simple. The Syndicate kept their black site secret because exposing it would reveal they were holding prisoners illegally, violating a dozen galactic treaties. Sarah's job was to make that secret public in the most spectacular way possible. She started by leaking the black site's location to 3 different news organizations known for aggressive investigative journalism. Then she arranged for a prominent galactic senator, one who'd been fighting Syndicate corruption for years, to receive anonymous evidence of the illegal detention facility. Finally, she hacked into the Syndicate's own internal communications and sent a message that appeared to come from a rival criminal organization, claiming they were planning to hit the black site to steal Syndicate prisoners and intelligence. The result was controlled chaos. News crews started swarming toward Korvac Station, following the biggest story of the year. The senator demanded inspections. The Syndicate panicked, trying to figure out who leaked the information and how to contain the damage. And in the confusion, Sarah's team struck. They didn't assault the black site directly. Instead, Kel sliced into facility systems during the chaos and triggered every alarm simultaneously. Fire suppression, radiation warnings, hull breach alerts. The guards couldn't tell which emergencies were real and which were false. In the pandemonium, Sarah and Rena infiltrated through a service entrance, dressed as maintenance workers responding to the alarms. They moved quickly through the facility, following the layout Kel had mapped from stolen schematics. They found their captured teammates in interrogation cells, bruised but alive. Sarah felt relief flood through her. "About time you showed up," whispered Tara, one of the captured operatives, managing a weak smile despite her injuries. "Sorry for the delay. Had to plan the dramatic rescue properly," Sarah replied, cutting through the restraints. "Can you walk?" "I can run if it means getting out of here." They didn't fight their way out. They simply walked, using forged credentials Kel had created and taking advantage of the complete disorder Sarah's plan had created. Guards were too busy dealing with alarms, news crews, and contradictory orders to notice for maintenance workers escorting 2 prisoners to medical. By the time the Syndicate realized what had happened, Sarah's team was 3 systems away. The rescue operation changed everything. News of the illegal black site dominated galactic headlines for weeks. The Syndicate faced investigations, sanctions, and public outrage. Several of their legitimate business fronts collapsed as partners distanced themselves from the scandal. More importantly, the operation proved to everyone watching that the volcanic ghost wasn't just a random vigilante. This was someone with resources, intelligence, and the ability to strike at the heart of syndicate operations. Sarah's team grew rapidly after that. Former syndicate victims reached out, offering information and support. Independent operators tired of syndicate intimidation asked to join the cause. Within months, Sarah commanded a network of 50 operatives across a dozen systems. "You're building something bigger than revenge now," Thorax observed during one of Sarah's visits to Dramet Prime. "This is becoming a movement." Sarah watched her command center bustle with activity. People analyzing intelligence, planning operations, coordinating supply lines. It looked less like a rebel cell and more like a proper military organization. "Is that a problem?" she asked. "Only if you lose sight of why you started this. Revenge can be satisfied. Movements develop their own momentum. Make sure you're still in control of where this goes." The warning proved prophetic. As Sarah's campaign intensified, she faced difficult choices. A syndicate convoy was transporting weapons through civilian shipping lanes, using innocent freighters as shields. The safest way to stop them meant potentially putting those civilians at risk. A syndicate lieutenant offered a defect, bringing valuable intelligence about upcoming operations. But accepting his offer meant letting someone with blood on their hands walk free. An opportunity arose to strike at a major syndicate facility, but the timing coincided with when they'd have families visiting the workers. Maximum military impact, maximum civilian presence. Each decision forced Sarah to balance justice against pragmatism, revenge against morality. She found herself constantly asking, what would Thorax do? But increasingly, she realized the answer had to be, what would Sarah do? Because Thorax had taught her to be a warrior and a strategist. But she had to teach herself how to be a leader worth following. The turning point came during the liberation of Cassis 4. The Syndicate controlled the planet's government through puppet officials and military intimidation. The population lived under oppression, their resources stripped away while corrupt governors grew wealthy. Sarah's network had grown powerful enough to attempt something unprecedented, not just a raid or a rescue, a full planetary liberation. "This is different from anything we've done before," Sarah told her command staff during the planning session. "We're not just hitting and running anymore. We're trying to overthrow an established regime. If we fail, a lot of innocent people will pay the price. If we don't try, those people keep suffering," Rena countered. "Isn't that why we're doing this?" Sarah looked around at her team. Jace, Rena, Kel, Tara, and dozens of others who joined the cause. They'd all grown beyond simple revenge. They fought for something bigger now. "All right," Sarah said. "Here's the plan. We're going to give the Syndicate a choice. Leave peacefully or face total war." The operation began with Sarah broadcasting a message across every frequency on Cassis 4. Her face appeared on screens throughout the planet. The mysterious volcanic ghost finally revealing herself. "My name is Sarah Vex," she said, her voice calm and clear. 2 years ago, the Vault Hex Syndicate murdered my family and destroyed my home. Since then, I've dedicated myself to one purpose, making them answer for their crimes." She paused, letting the words sink in across millions of viewers. "The Syndicate controls your planet through fear and violence. They've stolen your resources and your freedom. But that ends today. I'm offering the Syndicate officials on Cassis 4-1 chance. Surrender your positions peacefully and face galactic justice for your crimes. Or refuse and face my forces in open combat." Sarah's eyes hardened. "And to the people of Cassis 4, you are not helpless. We're offering weapons, training, and support to anyone willing to fight for their own liberation. The Syndicate is powerful, but they're not invincible. Stand with us, and together we can take back your world." The broadcast ended, and Sarah waited to see which way the planet would choose. The response exceeded her wildest hopes. Within hours, thousands of civilians joined the uprising. They'd been waiting for years for someone to give them a chance to fight back. Workers sabotaged Syndicate facilities. Local security forces defected en masse. The puppet government's control collapsed like a house of cards. The Syndicate responded with predictable brutality, sending warships and mercenaries to crush the rebellion. But Sarah's forces were ready. She'd spent months positioning assets throughout the system, hidden in plain sight. The space battle was fierce but brief. Sarah's fleet, cobbled together from donated ships and captured Syndicate vessels, used every tactic Thorax had taught her. They struck fast, exploited weaknesses, and disappeared before the enemy could properly respond. On the ground, Sarah led the final assault on the Syndicate's command center personally. She'd spent 2 years building toward this moment. All the training, all the planning, all the sacrifices. The Syndicate commander, a ruthless Krellian named Torvas, made his last stand in the governor's palace. He'd expected an easy occupation of a helpless world. He got a war instead. "You can't win," Torvas snarled as Sarah's forces breached the palace. "The Syndicate is too big, too powerful. Kill me, and 10 more will take my place." Sarah approached him with her weapon lowered, showing she wasn't afraid. "You're probably right. The Syndicate won't fall because of one battle on one planet. But you know what? This isn't about destroying the entire Syndicate today. It's about showing everyone watching that it can be done, that standing up to tyranny is possible." She stepped closer, and Torva saw something in her eyes that made him flinch. "Every colony you've raided, every family you've destroyed, every world you've crushed, all those victims are watching right now. And they're learning that they don't have to accept your cruelty anymore. We're teaching them how to fight back." Sarah gestured to windows when outside, liberated citizens celebrated in the streets. "That's what you never understood. You can kill me. You can kill everyone in my organization. But the idea? That spreads faster than you can stop it. The idea that people deserve freedom and justice. The idea that bullies can be beaten." She raised her weapon again. "So no, Commander Torvas. You're wrong. I've already won." The liberation of Cassis changed the galactic political landscape overnight. Suddenly, the Vault Hex Syndicate faced rebellions on multiple worlds. Their grip on power, maintained through fear and intimidation, began to crumble as populations realized resistance was possible. Sarah became a symbol, her face appearing on protest banners across a dozen systems. The volcanic ghost had become the liberator. The soldier trained by a warlord had become a leader in her own right. But Sarah never forgot where she came from or who made her transformation possible. She returned to Dramath Prime one final time, to complete her 7 years of service to Thorax. She expected him to send her on more missions, to exploit her growing reputation for his own purposes. Instead, Thorax released her from her oath early. "You fulfilled our bargain and exceeded it," the old warlord said. "Your service to me is complete. What you do next is your choice alone." Sarah was stunned. "Why?" "I still owe you 3 more years." Thorax's yellow eyes gleamed with something that might have been pride. "Because the student has surpassed the teacher. I taught you how to fight and how to think strategically. But what have you got out there? That vision of justice and liberation? That came from you, not from anything I taught." He moved closer, his massive form casting shadows across the volcanic training floor, where Sarah had once nearly died. "I trained you to be a weapon, Sarah Vex. You chose to become a symbol of hope instead. That's far more dangerous to tyrants than any army I could field. I'm honored to play a part in your story, but this is where our paths diverge." Sarah felt emotion tighten her throat. "Thank you, Commander, for everything. For believing in me when no one else would. For teaching me to be strong." "No," Thorax corrected gently. "You were always strong. I just helped you realize it. Now go. The galaxy is waiting to see what legend you become next." Sarah left Dramath Prime for the last time, but the lesson stayed with her forever. She'd come seeking revenge and found purpose instead. She wanted to hurt those who'd harmed her and discovered she could build something better. The Vault Hex Syndicate eventually fell. Not through a single decisive battle, but through 1,000 small rebellions Sarah's example inspired. It took years, but the corrupt empire crumbled under the weight of its own crimes and the courage of those willing to resist. Sarah never claimed credit for their downfall. She didn't need to. Everyone knew. Years later, A young refugee whose home had been destroyed by pirates approached Sarah's organization seeking help. The girl was small, scared, and burning with rage at the injustice she'd witnessed. Sarah looked at her and saw herself from years ago, broken but unbeaten, angry but not yet focused, desperate for someone to teach her how to turn pain into power. "What's your name?" Sarah asked gently. "Lena," the girl whispered. "Lena Thrace." Sarah smiled. "Well, Lena Thrace, let me tell you about a place called Drama Prime and a warlord who changed my life. Because if you're serious about this path, you need proper training. And I know exactly who can teach you." As Sarah contacted Thorax about taking on a new student, she realized the cycle was beginning again. Another broken soul seeking justice. Another chance to transform tragedy into triumph. Another legend waiting to rise. The galaxy never expected Sarah Vex to survive, let alone thrive. They certainly never imagined a grieving human woman would become one of the most influential figures in galactic history. But then again, the galaxy rarely expects legends until they're already standing in front of you, rewriting the rules and showing everyone what's possible when you refuse to give up. Sarah had been trained by a warlord, but she became something far greater. She became hope given form, proof that even the smallest voice can echo across the stars if it speaks loudly enough. And in a galaxy full of darkness, that hope blazed like volcanic fire, impossible to extinguish and impossible to ignore. Subscribe and like to my channel for more sci-fi stories. The end.